Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Ikemji, and in today's tutorial we'll be learning how to make this tube dress, or you can call it a strapless dress, or you can call it a smoky guarded dress. So if you're new to this channel and you're yet to subscribe, please hit the subscribe button and get engaged in this video so we can get started. So to begin now, I'll be working with my fabric, which is an Ankara fabric. Here I have 3 yards. I have my measurements here, and you can see my bust here is actually 37 inches. My half length is 16 inches. My bust is 36 inches, and the waist is 26 inches. So this is the measurement we're going to be working with. So next I went ahead to do is to actually fold my material into 4. Okay, so you can see here I did the first folding and I went further to do the second folding. And the reason why I'm folding this is because I'm going to be cutting the front and the back together. Remember that this is a smoky dress which does not require zip. Okay, so that's the reason why I folded it into 4. So I'll start by cutting the half length, and the half length we have here is actually 16 inches. So I'm just going to take my tape now and place it this way. Remember that this is more or less like a tube dress, so I'm going to be removing like 7 inches. Okay, so 7 inches will be removed away. That is where I'm going to be starting my measurement before I can now take my half length. Okay, but also remember that at the beginning of this our tube dress we're supposed to have something like a folding, right? So I'm going to come down to 6 instead of 7, so that I can give space where I can fold at that beginning part. Okay, so I'll go ahead now and impute my chest line, and how I got my chest line was 2 inches above my bust line, which is 10 inches. Okay, then I'll go down and mark my half length, which is 16.075. okay, so that is actually my half length. So after doing that, now the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to actually connect those points using my ruler, just as it's made in this video. So next I'll go ahead to do now is to impute my body circumference. But you also ask yourself, how was I able to fold this in this way so that I don't waste material? So because it's a smoky dress, how I was able to fold this thing is that you're going to take your bust measurement, which is 36 divided by 4. I'm going to have 9, so I'm going to add 5 inches, which is making it 14. So that's what I'm going to use to fold it. So when you're folding this material now, you're going to make sure that you fold it in such a way that you're going to get 14 or 15. I would think it's best to put it at 15 just to be at a safer side. Okay, so that was how I was able to fold it. So next I'll go ahead to do now is to actually impute my body circumference, which is the 9 inches plus my 5-inch extra allowance, because this is a smoky dress. So I'm just going to mark 14 inches, just as you see me do so here. So after that, now I'll go ahead and replicate this measurement at my chest line, because this does not require an armhole. It's just a tube dress, like I said earlier. Okay, so after doing that, the next thing I'll go ahead to do is to impute my waistline. Okay, and my waist is actually 26 divided by 4. I have 6.5 plus my 5 inches, which you are seeing me marking it there. So after that, now I'll go ahead and connect those points together, and I'll be cutting out what I'll be needing for this tutorial. Okay, so I'll open up my dress, and this is basically what I'm going to be having. Okay, that's the front and back, but I'll go ahead and split that up part, because that part was together because it was folded. So after splitting it, I'm going to be having the first and the second, which is for my front and back. Okay, so next I'll keep this aside so I can cut the down parts. So having folded my material into 2 so I can cut the down part, so here this is my measurements. Remember that the full gown is actually 37 and the half length is 16 inches, which you have already cut out. Okay, so what I'm going to say now is 37 minus 16, which will give me 21, which is meant for the down part of the dress. And now this down part of the dress is divided into 2, the first and the second layer. Okay, so if you want your layers to be equal, you simply divide 21 divided by 2, which is 10.5, 10.5. But because I do not want my layers to be equal, I want the first layer to be longer, that is why I gave it 12 inches, while the second one will be shorter. That's why I'm using 9 inches. So this is just an illustration of what I want. Here's the half length that I've already cut out, and this first layer is going to be the longest one, and this one is going to be the shortest one by length, but the width is going to be longer. Okay, so just understand that the last one is going to be smaller by length but longer by width. So what I'm basically going to do now is to first of all cut the width of the dress. And to actually cut the width of the dress, first of all you will make sure that you have folded the material according to the length that is required. Okay, so now this is just me ensuring that I folded it in such a way that I'm able to get 12 inches by length. Remember that this is just the first layer, so now this is 12, but I instead added 1.5. now 0.5 is going to be at the upper part, which is going to be joining with the half length. Okay, because definitely I'm going to join this first layer to the half length by 0.75. okay, and the down one will be joined to the last layer by 0.75. so when you add 2 of them, you're going to had 1.5. Okay, so that is how I was able to get what 13.5 at the end. So I have already confirmed that this has been folded appropriately. Okay, so now to cut the width of this upper layer, that's the first layer, what I'm going to do is to introduce the half length. Okay, so remember that this is actually the upper part. Okay, and then this is actually the waist side, so I'm going to measure the waist. Okay, so from the first part to the end part, I will measure it. And what do I have here? I have 22. Okay, so I'll keep that aside, and now I'm going to say 22 times whatever I want to times it with. If it's 1.5, is it 2.2 or 3, depending on how full you want your gathers to be. So here I'm going to times it by 2 because I have enough material, and I got what 44 inches. Okay, if you have lesser material, just times it by 1.5, but if you have plenty, you can times it by what 3 inches. But here I'm actually timesing my by what 2, so I got what 44 inches. So I'm going to measure from that point to the end of this point, and what did I get? I got 44 inches. Okay, so I'm just going to be using the whole of this width. Okay, so now I'll go ahead and begin to mark out my what 13.5 inches. That is the 12 plus 1.5, 13. So I'm just going to mark that all through the dress and equally connect them together using my ruler, and I'll go ahead and cut it out. So after cutting, you remember to actually open that part which has been folded, so you can have the front and the back piece. Okay, so after doing that, now the next I'll go ahead to do is to actually cut the last layer, which is the second layer. Okay, and to cut the second layer, I'll go ahead and measure this point to the other end. Okay, just the way I did for the half length waist while cutting the width of this first layer. So I'll simply go ahead and actually measure from this point of the first layer to the other point of the words first layer. So whatever I get there, every I'm going to get what 44 inches. Okay, so I'm going to times it by 2. So if you have more material, you can times it by 3. So when I times it by 2, I'm going to be having what 88 inches. Okay, so when I'm cutting the down part, I'm going to make sure that it's 88. Sorry, I had to do this off camera because of my table workspace, but I'm going to work with you so you can actually confirm the inches with me. So you can see that the second layer, when I was using my paper, I actually told you that I want the second layer to be 9 inches. So this is 9 inches, and I added 1.5 because they're definitely going to be a joining at the beginning part here to the first layer. And I'm going to what fold this down area. Okay, so here the length of my material is actually confirmed. And remember to always place it on fold because you are going to be cutting for back and front. Okay, so having confirmed the length of my last layer, I will go ahead and confirm the width of my second layer, which is actually 88 inches. So here I've already marked it. I got 60, so I'll be needing 28 now to complete the 60. Okay, to make it 88, and you can see that I've already done that. So I will simply go ahead now and split this part open so I can be having my 2 pieces for the front and the back. So having done that, now this is basically what I have. So I'm just going to place everything accordingly so I can give you an illustration of what you're supposed to have just the way I drew on the paper. Okay, so you can see my 3 layers, the half length, the first layer and the second layer. Okay, so now what I'm going to do now is to actually hem this last layer at this point. After hemming it for both the front and the back, I'll go ahead and run a gathers at this point. And for this down part, do not touch this down part. That's for the first layer down part because you're going to join it to the last layer. Then at the top part of your first layer, ensure to run a gathers. Okay, so that you can join it to the half length of your dress. So like I said, run a gathers at the up part of your first layer so you can connect it to your half length, and equally hem the top of your half length. Okay, I hope that is basically understood. Okay, so you can see here that I've already gone to the sewing machine to actually hem the top part of our half length. I also went ahead to run my gathers for my first layer, leaving the down part because I'm going to be joining it to the second layer. Okay, so I went ahead to also run gathers for my last layer. So basically what I'm going to do next now is to actually attach the half length to my first layer. Okay, so what I'm going to do is to fold my half length into 2. That's the 2 parts, and I'm going to get the midpoint. So when I get the midpoint, I'm just going to mark that. And even before running my gathers on my first layer, I made sure to get the midpoint before running gathers. That is why you can see that I've already marked it there. So I'll go ahead and now ensure that the midpoint of my first layer and the midpoint of the half length are facing each other. So make sure their right sides are facing each other as well. And I'm going to use pin to actually pin that down. And the reason why I'm doing this middle point, all of the thing, is so that I can evenly distribute the gathers well, so that one part will not be having more of gathers and the other one will be having lesser. I just made sure that they are at the midpoint and the gathers are evenly distributed. Okay, so after doing that, I'll go ahead and stitch it. Okay, so before going to stitch, I went ahead to do the same thing, getting the midpoint of the second layer and also getting the midpoint of the first layer. Okay, that's for the down part of it. Pin them together and evenly distributed the gathers on the dress. Okay, and I pinned them appropriately. So after pinning them down, next I'll go ahead to do, after doing that, after stitching the layers together, I'll also go ahead and run my elastic thread on this half length. Okay, so I'm going to do that by half inches. Okay, and after doing that, I'll go ahead and do it to the back side of this dress. Okay, so you just need to take your time and do it carefully. So let's take it to the machine now and do that. So after doing that, this is basically what we have. As you can see, I've gone ahead to run the elastic and everything is coming out beautiful. We are already getting what we want. Okay, and look at back side, you can see the joining. I've gone ahead to hem the down part. Okay, and I equally went ahead to do the same thing for the back, and this is basically what it looks like. So the next I'm going to do now is to actually cut my pocket, and you can see here I've already gone ahead to cut out 4 rectangular shapes, which is 2 for the front and 2 for the back, and each of them is having a width of 8 inches and the length is actually what, 12 inches. Okay, so basically that is what I have for all this rectangle you are seeing here. So what I'm going to do next is to take my front piece. Okay, make sure that the right side is facing up. Okay, then I'm going to go ahead now and take one of the pockets, which I'm going to make sure their right sides are facing each other with that of the dress. And at the waist side now, I'm going to go up by 1 inch. Okay, at the waist side you go up by 1 inch to place your pockets. So I'm just going to place it this way you're seeing me do, and I'm going to use pin to actually support it down. So after doing that, now I'll go ahead and pin them and do the others for the other part of the dress, and equally for the back. Okay, so you're just carefully going to do this and take your time to do it. Okay, so after doing that, now I will go ahead and stitch it. So just assume now that we have actually stitched it. The next thing we're going to do is towards place the front and the back, ensuring the right sides facing each other and well aligned. Okay, so I'm just going to use pin to support it down. So you're going to carefully do that. It's going to take your time, but you just need to do it so that everything is going to be well aligned. You know, this is a stretchy smoky dress, so it may really take a bit of your time. So after doing it, you're going to do it to the other side. Okay, and how you're going to stitch it is that you're going to stitch it by half inch, and when you get to the waist area of your dress, okay, when you get to that point, you're going to stitch it there and then enter into the pocket side, and just the way I'm marking this line, that's the area you are going to stitch. So I'm just going to be doing the stitching down to this point. Okay, and when you get here to this very exact point, you're going to stop. Okay, when you stop there, you are going to go back to the waist side at the up. From that point where your stitch is at the waist, you're going to place your tape there and measure 6 inches. This 6 inches for your pockets. So from that point to your 6 inch, you're going to stitch it down to the end of your dress, just the way I'm illustrating here. So this part here is going to be open where your hand is going to enter for your pocket, but if you are someone with fat hand, you can put it at 7 inches instead of 6, but moderately is actually 6 inches. Okay, so I'll just go ahead and stitch all these parts I've marked and equally replicate it to the other side of the dress. So let's take it to the machine now and sew. So after doing that, this is basically what it looks like. This is the back, this is what it looks like. So I'm just going to go ahead and turn it to the front. As you can see, everything is coming out fine. This is my pocket, this is the part where I left opened. I can actually put my hand inside. Okay, so next I'll go ahead to do is to actually cut out a strap for those that may want to wear it with a strap. And here I've gone ahead to cut out a long strap as long as possible, having a width of 2.5 for both of them. So this is just me taking the measurements to show you that this is actually 2.5 inches. Okay, because I want it to be tiny, right? So after doing that, now I'm going to fold it and then I'm going to stitch it by half inch, and I'll go ahead and turn it. So this is basically what it looks like after doing that. that, next is to actually put it into my dress. Okay, I'll simply go ahead and fold my dress just the way you see me doing this video. I will fold it, ensure their shoulders are touching each other, and next is to place the point where I want my strap to be. Usually my strap for a normal dress that is not smoky usually be at 5, okay, but because this is a stretchy dress, I'll mark it at 3. Okay, so after marking that, I'll replicate it to the back and the front and the side, let it be seen at other parts where I'm going to be inserting my rope. Okay, so after marking that, next I'll go ahead to do is to actually open it up and then use my pin to actually place my strap on the dress just the way you see me doing this video. Okay, so now remember that when we're measuring our dress from the beginning, that's the half length, because this is more or less like a tube form. I removed 7 inches initially. Okay, so 7 inches, which was for the front and back. So now 7 plus 7 is going to give me what? 14 inches. So for that 14 inches, I'm going to replace it because this is a shoulder and I've gone ahead to mark it. Okay, but I'm going to put it at what? 14.5. So the reason why I'm marking it at 14.5 because I want to cross my strap. I don't want it to be all straight, because if it's all straight I would have left it at what? 14. But because I want it to have an X form crossing the other way, it will require what? More of it. That's more than 14. I'll make it what? 14.5. But assuming it's going straight, I would have used what? Exactly 14. So now I'm going to make it what? 0.5. That's 14.5 because it's going to be a bit longer. So after doing that, I'm just going to use pin to hold it down, and I will go ahead now and do it for the other strap as well, so that I can measure the 14.5 and equally what? Mark that to cross it into the other part of the tube dress. So after doing that, I pin it and take it to the machine for sewing. So this is basically what it looks like. Everything has come out so beautiful. You can see the X crossing form, you can see the pockets for both parts of the dress, and here is the beauty of the dress in a whole. So if you enjoy watching this video and find it very interesting, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video to friends who you might want them to also learn about how to make this dress. And also, if you have any question, you can drop your question at the comment section. See you in my next video. Bye.